welcome to your day off. My name is Corey, and unfortunately, Tony couldn't be with me today. My best bud, Tone, unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but I'm super, super happy to introduce you to my co-host, Katie May. Say hi, Katie.
Hi.
So this is Katie's first podcast, and Katie, we got a pretty special guest on today.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So you've done some reading about her.
Yeah, a lot of reading, actually.
Is that type A personality?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
That's awesome. So our guest today, she, we'll talk about the story, but actually she wrote back in December when we were coming up with the podcast, she actually wrote an article in behindthechair.com, and I reached out to her immediately and I was like, this is the content that our industry needs. So I asked her to come on the podcast, and she's been incredibly gracious with her time to come onto the show. And since then, she's written about 5 or 6 or 7, maybe 10 other articles for Behind the Chair. So this is a woman that has tons and tons and tons to give to our industry. I think we kind of introduce her. Today's guest is Lo Wheeler from Orange County, California. Miss Lo.
Hi, how are you? Thank you
awesome.
so much.
Welcome to your day off.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. What's up, bud? How you doing?
I'm good. Just no complaints. Grinding and doing the things.
That's awesome. Where are you from?
I'm originally from LA County, and I've been doing hair for 15, 16 years now, and my life took me over to Orange County, where I've been living off and on for about 8 years.
Yeah.
And I have a salon here in South Orange County, San Clemente. It's about to hit its 3rd year birthday.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. What got you interested in doing hair?
It's been an interesting journey. I've always been like a little artistic kid. I always used to paint and draw and all these things. And when it came time for me to graduate high school, my parents are like, hey, listen, if you want to go to art school, you have to pay for it yourself. And so that kind of led them to, say like, let's get you a trade. So what are you interested in? And I was interested in like makeup and in hair essentially. And so my parents took me down to the school, and they're like, what seems to be the best fit? And so I originally went down to the local beauty school, and I was more into the idea of facials and makeup. Right. But when I saw the hair flying around the floor of the cosmetology school, I was like, okay, facials are too boring, too low key for me. So I am liking when I see these hair models and mannequins and stuff. And so the rest is history. And I had originally wanted to go to art school, but once I got my sea legs in the beauty realm, I never looked back. It was like my calling. I became completely obsessed with it, started working at an amazing Aveda salon in the local area. And I worked there and totally never looked back. So that's how I got my start. I thought I was going to be this artsy art student, and it just never, my path never took me that way. I just never looked back after I found hair. So
you just found a new art, right?
Yeah, it just totally satisfied that need, that artistic need in me.
Well, I know the industry is happy to have you. So I'm glad you found your path via the head.
Oh, so awesome.
That's pretty cool. Did you so when you got out of hair school, did you do an apprenticeship, or did you kind of work your way through the industry?
So interestingly, at the time, my future boss to be, she was in skincare at the same school at the same time. She had her eye on all the new talent coming up out of the school. So she approached me and she's like, hey, you need to assist my husband, which is like the main guy at the salon.
Right.
And she's like, I want you to come and meet him. And I went and interviewed, and I totally had a great chemistry with them both as a couple. And I started assisting him for about a year. And the salon had multiple assistants, but I tended to kind of pick up on things pretty quickly. So I just took about a year and started growing my clientele, and it was great. He was an awesome mentor. He taught us a lot of really out of the box concepts. I remember this one class that he had. It was a haircutting class, but he literally got all of the stylists clumps of clay and had us take a wire and remove all the bulks and turn this clump of clay into a perfect sphere. And it taught us the concept of removing excess and to create a shape. And I never forgot it. And he was just like, he was a very jack of all trades. He can cook, he can do beautiful hair, like gourmet meals. He can create everything. In fact, the whole salon was furnished with these like beautiful artworks. And I don't know, he was just like the best mentor of all times that I could have had. And he just made me realize that hair is an outlet and you can do so many things and center it around your trade. Absolutely. So I've always taken that with me.
That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, anyone that can kind of explain the process, from outside of like 45-degree angles.
Well, and hairdressers are so visual, right?
Yeah.
Anything that you're actually putting your hands on or,
right.
You just pick it up or feel it so much better.
That's incredible.
He was very out of the box, and it kind of helped me to think about like, what is it that I want to offer to people that assist me, and how do I want to mentor? It was just a great experience, and I worked very hard for them for a long time. And until I moved away and created my own salon, I didn't want to work for anyone else, essentially. So he was great.
The salon you have now, was that your first salon?
It is my first and only salon, and I feel like it's been such a blessing to have it. I never wanted to be a salon owner. Right. I just kind of arrived at a point in time where I needed a space to lease for myself and assistants. And we stumbled across this building down the street from where I live. And it was already a salon from the 60s. And, when it comes to it was called the Queen of the Palace Salon, and it had shag carpet. It had this
my God, carpet
retro. I know, you can only imagine, like near the beach, shag carpet and all this stuff. And it changed hands so many times. And by the time I, needed my own place, the salon that was currently here, basically they went out of business. So it kind of was like very fortunate. And I actually found it from a hairstylist that was following me on Instagram. And she was like, Instagram's crazy. That's a whole nother thing. So she was following me. She's like, my salon's going out of business. And my ears perked up and I'm like, I need to check out this place. And it was down the street. And when we came to it, it was about 2,000 square feet. And that was definitely too big for just me. So me and my husband, we just looked at each other and we're like, I guess we're opening a salon. And we shook off it and popped some champagne. And I'm like, I think I can do this. And it kind of just presented itself. So I've just been on this crazy roller coaster of salon ownership. And it's humbling, trust me, when I say that.
No doubt. Learn what you're all about pretty quickly, right?
Oh, totally.
So with your branding, at least it feels like, from the East Coast, are you a blonding salon, or how did you purposefully try to niche the salon?
Well, it's interesting. The span of my whole career, I didn't really have a specialty. I was a very family-oriented stylist for 10 years. And when it came to moving and adapting to my surroundings, I realized what is really a big hit in my area is definitely blondes. Orange County equals blonde. And so I just kind of was like savvy to that, and I could adapt myself. And I think this boils down to 5 years ago, the biggest top hits were balayage techniques. And that was so trendy and so like in your face. And so 5 years ago, right at the,
the apex,
thank you, of the trends changing. I had already had my whole career in comfort zones and everything. And it was really at that point where I had to make a decision. Either I'm going to adapt or I'm not. Right. And so I went ahead and I pushed myself to take these techniques, learn them, master them as quickly as I could. When you sign a lease to a huge salon, you make it work and you take it seriously. And so I decided at this point, I'm like, what would a smart business move be? So literally, sorry, I have my puppies here at the salon. So then I had to just commit, and I got a bunch of talented artists in here that felt that passion and saw what I was doing and, wanted to be a part of that. And so it's been ever changing and growing, and we've been more specialty along the way.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, anybody that can kind of, take a niche market and create an entire, business out of it. It's just, to me, it's just, go ahead.
Sorry. Are you guys, do you just do blondes?
So we kind of market ourselves as a specialty blonding salon. So whether you're a brunette, we can remove your pigment and keep your hair healthy. If you're a blonde, we can define and, elevate your blonde. We have a few guys that come in, they're like our clients' husbands, and we definitely take care of people with solid hair colors and do base bumps and shadows and things like that. Right. But as far as like what we're trying to project and market out there, it's those like specialty, luxury, high-end blonde services. And we do really well with that. And my team's really, really top-notch in the area. So they're each girl is very driven and very cutting edge, and I try to get them all as much education as I can and support them.
Do you send them out, or do you kind of bring education in?
I'm trying to do it to where every single month we have a class. Last year it was kind of like every few months we'd have a class, and then I would kind of pull them in and kind of put them through like a boot camp, so to speak. But now, since it's turned over into the new year, I'm like going to be more strategic with what their needs are, what they're asking me for, and kind of make it custom. So yeah, we have a great educational calendar this year. It's incredible.
That's awesome. I mean,
once a month is great.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not too much, not too little, right?
But education's so huge just because our industry is changing all the time. Literally for the rest of your career, once a month, you would learn something new all the time.
That's absolutely right. And, you stay on the trends, and you stay on the seasons, and you stay on everything. That's awesome. Big kudos to you, Miss Lowe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So when you were setting up the salon, did you so does the salon have prices, or does each artist do they set their own prices? And either way, how do you figure that stuff all out?
It's just been a process getting to define my business, because it's a young and unique business to my area. So what I've tried to do is put out what I think is right as far as prices. And if people respond to it, I let the response tell me the direction I need to go. Because
it's 101, right? Supply and demand, right?
Right. And so, I've kind of varied my prices here and there depending on the demand. And so after ebbing and flowing with that, we found our range is between, a starting point of blonding services at $145 all the way to like $350-ish. And so we pull in a lot of clients with our lower price point, but once they come in and we articulate what their needs are and kind of make a roadmap to get them to their goal, they're more than happy to spend all the way up to like $400.
Wow.
And it's really, our Instagram and everything builds trust. But when we bring in the new clients, seeing how we run our show and, the detailed consultation, then we keep their trust. And, trust is the most important thing in a salon.
Absolutely. What's in your consultation? I mean, can you just kind of give us the highlights of?
Oh, I could go off on consultation. It's crazy. I can do a whole hour just on consultation. But I think what works...
Give us the highlights now. We'll bring you back on for an hour of consultation.
Absolutely. I think like the main, trinity of consultation is setting expectations, creating a transparency with budget,
Mm-hmm.
and then setting them up for the future. So, when we have
In what sense for the future? I'm sorry. In what sense? You
like
mentioned future.
I like to create a path for like the whole year. So, okay, if somebody asks me for a really high maintenance blonde,
Mm-hmm.
and they show me this picture, I like to tell them, okay, like this picture is going to require maintenance every single month.
Right.
Does that fit your lifestyle? Or, how often do you like to visit in the salon in reality? If they say every 2-3 months, I'll steer them in a direction of a more natural option that still has some of those colors that they're attracted to.
Right.
So it's just about customizing and being flexible and understanding their needs and what their hair is capable of doing and what's
that's a big
possible.
one there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of visual aids too. Like I have on my website a must read column on my website. It's like, please, all clients, please, this is a must read before booking an appointment. And it all goes into like, what to expect when you're, coming in for a blonding service.
What's your let's give a shout out to your website real quick. Can you give us that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's wheelerdavis.com.
Okay. Just in case any of the listeners want to check out what those must reads are and, maybe adapt or steal some ideas from Lo.
Oh, I love it. In fact, I have a really great page on policies that I encourage people to just copy and paste to their own sites all the time, because as salon specialists, we're dealing with chemicals and we're dealing with people's expectations, and hair is an organic material and you have to protect yourself because people's expectations don't often, fit reality. And if hair gets dry or something, people have to know that they're putting chemicals on their hair. It's not just like back in the day where it's just like, oh, one gloss. People really want aggressive lifting services.
Sure.
And I can just go off on that too, because I think with the age of Instagram, it has skewed the public's viewpoint of reality in their hair. And so people come in and they're like, want to come to the salon once or twice a year, but they want these sophisticated, aggressive treatments, and they want to walk out with just virgin feeling hair.
I can't even tell you how many times I have a client bringing me a picture. I'm like, so there's probably like 3 filters on this, just so you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Clear is not a shade of blonde.
Right. Oh yeah.
I think clear is not a shade of blonde is the name of this episode.
Yeah.
So we just have a lot of different, things, especially for new people coming out of school. The bar is pretty high, and now that you can view stylist portfolio.
Hold on, slow down. So when you say the bar is pretty high, that's pretty high. A new hairdresser has to be in their game, is what you're saying? Like,
I believe
there's not much room for, learning or whatever, because, Instagram is the, like, it's your profile or it's your portfolio. Well, yeah, it's your portfolio. It's your business card. But unfortunately, now you're competing with everybody else's portfolio as well.
Well, it's your first impression, and that's your number one referral. So it's like before you could call your local salon and, as a client, you could be like, oh, what's the closest Aveda salon, or what's the closest Tony and Guy near me? And you're, as a client, connect with a brand.
Sure.
And then when you call the salon, the receptionist links you to someone available to suit your need. And so you go off the referral of the brand and the receptionist, right? And then if you're an awesome stylist, you get all the referrals and then you retain them.
Right.
And so that's how it's been for years and years and years. You go to a great salon, you get referrals, and then you retain. But now it's like
2012 changed everything.
Absolutely, because now people aren't necessarily defaulting to the corner salon, or they're not on default requesting like, okay, like where's Tony and Guy, or where's the nearest Aveda salon? They're looking for amazing artists on Instagram, and they're checking hashtags, and they're looking at Yelps, and they're looking for those visuals. If you have a great portfolio and there's like 5 pictures on it, good luck. There's not a lot of trust there. Or if you're putting out very general content and you have hundreds of posts, there's not a lot of attraction there. But you have to show consistency in your work, and you have to show new content regularly to earn trust. And that's your first, what's that called? Like impression. Yeah. And so people will drive an hour to see you if you have a stellar first impression. And so I think that's just that's a whole new ball game. And I think, for new stylists, everyone wants to be Instagram famous these days, and start off specializing, and it's just really, really a new challenge for the newer generations. And I think it's a challenge for salon owners because they don't know what to do with all these people too. And that's a whole nother thing we could get on for a short one. Is like dealing with
kind of the way that I think about it too, is that if you're a young hairdresser now and you do all those steps that you said, that your client growth can happen literally overnight. Right. So like where it's a challenge for a lot of people, it can also be, you can be a mega star, now you have to have the talent, right? But if you have the talent and you have the follow through or the wherewithal of how how Instagram is working, I mean, it's not going to take you 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years to build a book. I mean, you can do it just like that, so that's a great advantage too.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, 4 years ago, when I moved my business from LA to OC, I had to start over. And at this time I started my Instagram, and I had like maybe, 50 posts at that time. And I built a solid clientele in about a year. Bravo. And I know, but it was like solid, like double booked.
Right.
And then now that I have my own salon, and we do a lot of support on social media, and we run a lot of advertisements, and we do so much in that regard. Some of my new stylists are like well booked out in advance, and they've been on the floor for 9 months, brand new stylists. Wow. And incredible. Like what it takes most people 3 years to cultivate can be done now in 9 months if the right pieces are in place.
Sure.
That being said, it could be bleak if you don't have those pieces in place, because you need to make a presence on some level as a new person coming out of school. So I think, at all the trade shows and in school, they're just constantly telling people, bombarding people, stylists, you need an Instagram. This is how you use it. This is a tool for you. And it's literally in your face at all the shows and every education. There's a wealth of information on using it as a tool. And if that is ignored, it's kind of like to your demise, And
if you're not doing it, somebody else is, right? And
exactly.
You're looking for the same clients, or the same clients are looking for you.
Lo, I'm just curious. You do hair behind the chair. I was reading in an article that you did for the Behind the Chair about a lot of your stylists maybe only do 1 to 3 clients a day versus a normal like 6 to 8 person, client day, because of the blondes and what you guys are doing. What personally do you do?
I have been adapting. Like any question that comes up on this podcast, I'm going to just go back to I'm adapting always. Yeah, so right. when I first opened the salon, I had an assistant, and I would take about 6-7 clients a day. And then as I started developing my team, I started doing more like 2 clients a day, and they were more extensive, and I stopped using my assistant. And then now I'm consolidating and condensing and giving away my clients so that I can pursue different opportunities outside the salon.
Right.
that don't take the opportunities away from my team that's growing.
That's really
So, yeah, it's interesting. And I'm thinking of all of these other opportunities to teach and get some content together. And I realize that I can't fully give away every client because that's my content too. So I'm trying to reset, give all my clients a new stylist to take care of them. And then in a couple months, open up my books in a totally different way. So I'm developing it right now to reset mostly my clients' expectations, because my clients are used to me like babying them and loving them and spending every ounce of time and energy on them. And if I totally switched up without resetting, they'd be like, hey, wait a second, it's different now. And so for everyone's benefit, I just need to give everyone away and then open up my schedule with true intentions and say, like, I'd love to see you, but it's going to be under these circumstances, and kind of evolve.
That's actually pretty smart. I mean, if you can do it, if you can shut down your book for a few months and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Back again. Mo is back.
Mo is back. So I want to talk to you about a couple things. I mean, you said that you're always, I don't know what word you use, but we'll use evolving or, whatever. So, I mean, you went from, working in the salon and then again, these great articles, these great business articles that you've written in Behind the Chair. But I just saw, or I guess I saw a few months ago, you have a like a salon clothing line. You want to get into that?
Oh, absolutely. It's so exciting because I feel like, as being a stylist for so many years, seeing that change from, being offline to very online, where stylists are now showing so much of themselves and being vulnerable and saying like, hey, this is me. Come see me. Like, this is who I am. This is the work I do. Now more than ever, stylists are like thinking about how they look and how they feel and what empowers them. And I think people are trying to be a part of a community. And so thinking about this, salon apparel line's called Salon Culture, and we've launched a series of denim aprons to start with. And they're really cute. They're really fashionable. They make every outfit look just so elevated and so just thought out. And the genesis of this project really happened when I opened my salon. I had one of my girls had found in her own denim apron, and it was just so popular. Everyone wanted one. And I was just like, this is so genius. She looks so amazing every day. I'm like, why isn't this a thing? You know? And so we looked and looked and looked, and it was just very impossible to find like a nice way to have a consistent kind of like work apron for my salon, because I wanted everyone to have it.
Right.
And so it was interesting, the lack of that. And as I started to travel and go to all the hair shows, I started to see this as a big hole in the market, because when you walk the floor of a hair show, the things that you expect to see is technology, new inspiration and education and all these things. And what I was noticing is with like the capes and the drapery and the salon, quote unquote, salon apparel, it was just very dated, very kind of like, I don't know.
I mean, I've been in the industry for 30 years. I don't think it's changed at all. It's been exactly the same for as long as I've been in the industry. And, here we are. All this new technology. The only thing that's changed, and we talked about this last night, the only thing that's changed in 30 years that's awesome is bleach proof towels. Or certainly
amen.
Amen. So, because back in the day you either had one or two choices, either dark towels with orange spots or you had white towels with brown spots. Those were your two options. So, dark towels with that now can hold up to bleach. Hey, can you I wonder what that technology is for the bleach proof towels. Is that something that you could put on your apron or on your like denim cover up?
Absolutely. In fact, we are doing some sample testing to get that technology into our products.
Wow.
So there's no promises yet. Of course, it's very unofficial official, but that's definitely something that, a common question that we've been asked over and over. And, we like to respond to what people want, and basically like all of our aprons, they have such high quality cotton and high quality dye that, they actually hold up amazingly well without being color resistant treated.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually really impressed with them as they are, but that has certainly been on our radar. And we kind of have this thing on our website that says like, hey, wear this thing out, give it some battle scars, show that you're in it and committed, and let your apron have character.
Right.
And if you're the type of stylist that really wants it to be pristine, like we have care tips. It's funny because like my palest apron, it's called Saint. It's like a light kind of like boyfriend jean material, and it gets really dirty, but it's funny because I've found this like life hack where I just mix up 30 or 40 volume Blonde Me by Schwarzkopf, and it takes everything out of it and it doesn't discolor it. And I just throw it in the wash and it kind of comes out really like squeaky clean. It's
What is it? So you put like the Blonde Me in the wash with it?
No. I let me rephrase. I spot treat my apron with Blonde Me.
That's
with
awesome.
Blonde Me. And then I just let it sit for like 30, 40 minutes. And then I throw it in the wash and then it comes out like totally clean.
Well, I know you have a big fan right here with Katie. So when Katie goes to buy her denim cover up, where can she find that thing?
So our website is shopsalonculture.com, and I'm reworking the website, and we're going to be coming out with some really trendy t-shirts and hoodies and just like really cool things coming up soon. I'm really looking forward to that. That launch is going to be coming up pretty quickly here.
That's pretty exciting. And how much marketing with that are you going to do? Are you going to do online stuff, or do you foresee you opening up like kiosk at different hair shows and stuff?
I think there's tons of potential. I think we're like so new that our objective is to just create a really beautiful online portfolio to beef up our website. I'd love to work with my network of friends that are educators in the industry and make sure that, they've tried our products and are wearing our products, and let it kind of grow organically.
Right.
I think that the shows are great. It's just such a specialty item that takes a long time to create. Each denim apron batch takes about 6 weeks to hand make in LA.
Are you serious?
So we've been doing pre-sale, and we sell out batches at a time. And while we're selling through a batch, another batch is being made 6 weeks apart. So until we get our demand to where we want it to be, and our until we get the following we want and the eyeballs we want on us and the attention we want, can we up our batches?
Sure,
and so we're not at a place yet to show at this year's trade show. Right. I'm thinking next year, like we should be able to bump up our volumes. It's just, I'm a really safe spender. Like I won't spend money that I don't have, and I won't go into debt. And so basically we're kind of just saying like, okay, who believes in this? Who wants it? We're going to kind of make small batches handmade to the people who want it now. And we just take it very slow. I'm very much so like that in all my businesses. Like my salon, I bought everything one day at a time, and like now my salon's fully furnished like 3 years later. I'm just like, I like to take risks, but I don't like to rush or get myself into any crazy situations. So, but I'm really excited. A lot of people are receiving and responding to salon culture really well, and we made back our initial investment in like 2 weeks.
Wow!
So it was just like really, there's some really cool response to it, and so we're really excited to see it grow.
So if we were to buy one today, would we have to wait 6 weeks for delivery, or?
No, not per se. So we've kind of divided up our batches into the 3 different colors. And so every 6 weeks we have, some inventory, but once it sells through, most people have to wait like 2 to 3 weeks before the next batch comes.
That makes sense.
So it's kind of like, and we're very like transparent about why we're pre-ordering, because they're custom made to order. And basically, when you buy into our brand, you like the quality, you like that we're made in LA, not overseas. And we've partnered ourselves with a brilliant company, a brilliant nonprofit charity, Cut It Out. And so when you make a purchase, you're supporting a charity that's salon oriented. And so it's kind of like the people that believe in our brand want more than just to look good. They want to, support other hairstylists and kind of see a bigger picture.
Right.
We talk all about that on our website and our platforms, our charities and our quality and things like that.
I certainly see that as more the trend now, with hairdressers supporting hairdressers. Again, I think, kind of Instagram opens that up to, now we know who people are. Now you know Justin in Boise, Idaho because of Instagram. You know what I mean? Justin's a real person, by the way.
Yeah.
He's not one of those fake people. Okay. A couple really tough questions, like 3 to be exact. Let's make sure that we get to them. The first one is, do you have techniques to knowing your worth as a hairdresser? Like, how do you set up your prices or?
Absolutely. I think definitely it boils down to a few key things: experience, demand, location's a factor. If you're a new stylist and you are building, you want to take into consideration where you live and what's the average price that salons are charging for services you want to provide. So you start there with the average. And then as you build up
hold on. So, just to make it real super practical. So like when you reach out, how big is your window? You know what I mean? Like if, are you moving out like the top salons within 5 miles or what people are charging within 10 miles? Like what does that window look like? Does that make sense?
Sure. I would say the surrounding like 4 cities. I would do your homework. And for new stylists, I tell them like, hey, like do your homework, look at all the salons in your area, especially within, a couple blocks and then also a couple cities, because that gives you information, what those services are going for. So what they're going for in Orange County is going to be different from LA and Beverly Hills. And it's going to be different, in Arizona. It's going to be different in Utah. So I would just do the research of what the average is and then have that be your starting point. And so what I think makes perfect sense is when you're building your clientele, you have to be competitive. When you have a clientele base, then if you're booked out for consecutively for 3 weeks at a time, then you can start to raise your price. And then
so 3 weeks is that's your base. So when you're 3 weeks out, now we can start looking at or discussing how to raise your price. This is actually a great segue because that was my second question. Like 1, how do you know when to change your prices? And 2, how do you go ahead and execute that?
It's all about communication when you're talking to your clients about execution. For the 3 weeks, you just have to pay attention to your business. So if you're working for somebody else, you talk to them about your goals. Say like, hey, I'd like to talk to you, managers or salon owners, about my goals as a stylist. If you're working as an independent, you have to pay attention to your business. Are you 3 weeks booked out in advance? That means you're in demand. So that means people want the services. So that means that you have to, in turn, get more control over your price point.
Right.
So when you hit that goal of being 3 weeks booked out, you do a 10% price increase for your clients across the board. And then all new requests, you start them at a 20% price increase.
Ooh, so that's really smart.
Dang.
That's really smart, isn't it?
Yeah.
10% to 20% for your new guys.
So what that kind of does is when you give your clients a 10% price increase, you naturally shed about 30% of your book. And that makes room for the people that are willing to pay 20% more. So then you start to have a balancing. So you get a little bit more time on your hands, but then the people that want to come in and pay higher prices, they'll start to fully book you out. And so then you continue with that process.
That's a great system, actually. And that's a system that's always moving, right? And you're always pushing towards that. That's just really, really, really smart.
Cool. Thanks. I'm glad it's helpful because it's something I'm working with my team right now because I feel like young people, especially, they're goal oriented. They want a lifestyle and they want to be a part of something. And, if the business gives them goals, then they're on track.
That's incredible.
It scares me.
Really? Why? Why does that scare you?
I think it probably is a confidence thing. Like, I'm terrified when I'm raising my prices.
Well, you know what? I think it doesn't have to be a scary thing because you can always communicate with your clients and set them up to value your worth. So if I was starting to raise the prices on my clients, I can turn it into a positive. Because if you communicate with them and say like, hey, you've been with me for a long time. I would like you to celebrate my success with me. I'm going to be offering you to stay on my books. I love you. It's going to be a 10% price increase. I want you to know everyone that's on my wait list to get into my schedule, they're going to start at a higher price point. This is where you have the opportunity to partner with your clientele and say like, I value you. New clients that haven't seen me are going to start at a much higher price point. So let's meet in the middle. And then you can always offer them, added value by saying like, I'm going to honor our current price this time. Next time it'll be this much. And say like, to make that really a special thing, I'm going to do a conditioning treatment for you because I really appreciate you as a customer and your loyalty and your referrals.
That's awesome. That's really great. All right, Lo. This is the backroom talk that happens in every salon. One, what's the criteria? What's Lo's criteria for firing a client? And two, how do we execute that?
Oh, that's $1 million question, my friend. That is $1 million question.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of different ideas that surround this because I think it all starts with the question, why? Why would you like to fire a client? I think my personal criteria is if a client repeatedly no-shows, then I can terminate that relationship. Or if they blatantly disrespect me or belittle me, like irrationally impossible to please. Because there's a difference between picky clients and like irrational, like where there's no logic to them and you cannot ever be on the same page because they don't respect your expertise, then it's not a good fit. And then
I'm sorry, Lo, just to like jump in here. I mean, I kind of have a little rule to this, and that's if I see them on the book and I start to get that anxiety, then I know it's time to terminate, I'm not saying that I always do, but I'm saying like, that's my goal. Like, we got to get past this because this just isn't fun anymore. And so it's part of my career. It's less about, what I'm making day to day and more about, living an easier lifestyle than, forcefully putting myself through torture.
Sure. I definitely appreciate that. I think like any client that makes you dread them or, certainly like you don't want to like have clients make you cry, which it happens.
Right.
It happens in the salon, like more often than you think, like clients steamroll over a young stylist or, so I think that those are definitely my fireable offenses.
Yeah.
And I think like it's interesting though, because if you have, a solid clientele base and, you're at a certain point in your career where you don't need to see new customers, then by all means, like be selective as you want. Sure. In regards to new stylists that work for another salon where, they're a commission stylist per se, or they have the structure of a salon supporting and flowing them clientele. They don't necessarily have the same luxury. I worked for a amazing commission salon, and I did not get to pick and choose my clients. I didn't have to get along with them. I was there to provide a service and, build my livelihood. So I think there's a balance, because having a high ego and saying like, oh, like, I don't want this client because they're annoying, or they show up late, or like they're kind of picky and they like inconvenience me. Stylists have to like have an ego check, because that's not a fireable offense. One client could add thousands of dollars to your in total of your year. And so,
Actually, let me slow you down there, because that's exactly kind of how I think. I actually, and Katie will tell you, I have a client that no shows all the time, but her end year money is so big that, like, here's the deal. Like, she's bringing me like 10 grand a year, right? So like when you go to all these hair shows and stuff, they're always like, here's what you can do to increase your income by 10 grand a year, right? Like, especially when you're a young hairdresser, do this step, do this step, do this step. Well, I'm not really in a position where I want to be like, well, I know a way to lose 10 grand a year. So we've come up with an agreement, me and this client, but absolutely, like, she was so hard to fire. She is so hard to fire because of that. And the truth is, though, is that I love her when she's in my chair, when she shows up, which I think comes down to a lot too. If I didn't care for her, or if, she did annoy me, again, not in an ego kind of way, low, but then I probably wouldn't be as open to keep her on. But I'm certainly not going to turn away 10 grand a year just because my feelings are hurt.
Exactly. I think that's an important point.
No, I was just going to say, for me, I think something that was difficult is I literally worked for one salon pretty much my whole career until 2 years ago. I went out on my own to do booth rental. What has been difficult for me is I was always by the salon rules. Like, I have to hit these targets and I have to do so much before I can raise. They would, help you with talking to the clients and all that sort of thing, which is great. But now being on my own, I still kind of track everything and I know my numbers and that sort of thing, but it's definitely like, oh, okay, maybe it's time, maybe it's not. I don't know. It's a lot harder on your own, to figure that step out. So I think that's actually been kind of from a new stylist and growing that way, and then into what I am now. I don't know. I feel like it's been a little more difficult with that.
I think the bottom line is, especially important for, I want to say, the millennial stylist, is to have gratitude, be grounded, work hard, and be grateful that you have any clients. Because it's tough out there. There's like new talent popping up left and right. And in my opinion, you just have to stay grounded and, work hard and appreciate each client, because each client, whether you like them or not, whether you have anything in common with them or not, they have the potential to get you so many more customers or totally sabotage you. Right. And if you are a little
Yelp effect, right?
Yeah, the Yelp effect.
Yeah, like if you start to think that clients are disposable, clients will freaking sabotage you. Sorry. And it only takes one or two to tell everyone else that they go to church with, or all their high school friends, or all their single mom groups. It only takes one or two to be like, oh, I tried this person, but they were kind of snooty, or they were this, or they were that. And then guess what? Like, your books will hollow out. Right. And it's an ego check. When you've been in it for a long time, like, you realize, like, doesn't matter like how cool you think you are, like, there'll be weeks where everyone falls off your schedule, and you realize, like, oh shoot, like, I need to pay for my gas and my groceries. Like, I need to chill out, and I think that's real life. That's real life, like, you have to have a little thick skin. And, we're in the service industry to provide service. Our business is serving others. And, you can be the most incredible, talented, or you could have 100,000 followers. It doesn't matter. You just have to have gratitude for the work that you have, because there's way less fortunate people out there. Absolutely. And it's all attitude,
I read somewhere too, I can't remember where it was. It said that someone's more likely to share a negative experience or, something negative than they are something positive. So if you have, they have a bad experience with you, they're going to tell 100 of their friends.
Right.
They have a good experience, they might only tell 10.
I think that's a marketing rule, and how they came up with the rule is that like the average wedding, or it might be 100 people, whatever the rule is, but they took the average wedding and how many guests there were, and they took the average funeral and how many guests there were. So what that does is that shows, thank you. that shows you.
Sorry, that was my coffee straw.
That shows you exactly how many people an individual touches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how many people that they can reach. So with that marketing role, to your point, if that's 250 people that can get like, that was an all right service, or that was a bad service. But on the same time, if you give them an outstanding service, then that's also 250 people, or whatever that rule is, or however many people that is. That maybe it's 150. That sounds about right. Better, right? That's how many people they can reach. So in fact, when you have a client in your chair, there's a potential of 150 different sets of ears that can also hear that.
Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah,
that is so powerful. And I just know for myself, it's just I've been in it for, it feels like a lifetime. I know, like, to a stylist that's been doing it for 30 years or whatever, they think I'm like kindergarten hairstylist. But I just feel like, clients will shed themselves anyway. You
Right.
always have to be proving yourself. You're only as good as the last head of hair you touched. Because clients' circumstances are going to change, whether you are the best person in the world or not. Like, they're going to have their car break down. Their jobs are going to take them to a different city. And so clients are always cycling and ebbing and flowing. Even if you're the most incredible person in the world in technical hairstylists, you have to be on your A game, and you have to treat every client like, your main focus and top priority and number one opportunity, even if they're annoying. Even if you have nothing in common, even if they're like have bad breath, you still have to make them your priority. And I think that's business 101, because in my opinion, business is relationships. Doesn't matter if you are dealing with a huge business, like a huge company like Cosmoprof or Behind the Chair or whoever, like, it's all relationships. In your clientele business, it's relationships.
Right.
And I think that's super important. And I'm never in a hurry to fire anyone. I want to say in the last 3 years, I've fired like one client. I think you had asked me how to go about that.
Yeah.
And so on my website, there's like my policies. I kind of like outline client behavior and etiquette on my website.
Oh, that's smart.
You know what? That's genius, right? It's like, it's almost like a contract. Like this is the contract.
Oh yeah,
or if you come to Will Davis Salon, like it's
like manners.
It's like manners.
You're going to come into my salon. This is how you're going to act.
Exactly. I like that. It's manners.
Sure.
That should be the title, right? Salon manners.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I thought of that because I had some circumstances where, like, I had some independent stylists renting booths, and they brought some crazy clients into my salon, and they did not have appropriate etiquette, and there was some weird situations that happened under my roof, and I'm like, okay, how can I deal with this? And so I'm like, okay, I need to create a client agreement of what the standards are for the salon. And so on that, it kind of says what we first and foremost expect is common respect. And it's our priority to show each and every client courtesy, kindness, and respect. So in turn, that's what we expect from our clientele. And that's our first and foremost priority. It's pretty detail oriented, but if I needed to fire a client for any reason, I would send them an email and say, like, thank you for choosing us as a salon. I have a really eloquent way of saying it. I can't draw it to I'll paraphrase it. So let's put it this way. Thank you for joining us at our salon. We really value you as a client. However, our last visit or visits didn't coincide with our clientele contract or agreement. Here's a link to that page on our website. And for these reasons, we cannot continue to offer you future services, but we wish you the best of, best wishes. And then, of course, it's super well written, but no one wants to get that email. And so there's always like haterade coming through the other side of the phone or whatever. But
haterade.
It's just like,
I'm stealing that. Haterade. Did you coin that?
No. I wish.
Corey, you're really showing your age right now.
Oh my God, that's fucking hilarious. Haterade. Yeah.
They're sipping haterade.
That's awesome.
But I'll tell you like a real life scenario that really happened in my salon. I had a great client. She was willing to spend whatever money on her hair. She just was starting to become such a nuisance because she started to really just suck the whole salon's energy out, because she'd come in like it's, like her show, like her world. We're just all fixtures in her world and stuff. And, her hair, she'd always kind of scramble and rush us and to do her hair and stuff. And so it just kind of became like, that anxiety that you were talking about. Like when this person's name showed up on the schedule, we were all kind of like, anxious. And so I just told her, I'm like, hey, listen, like we appreciate you as a client. I think because our salon, we don't at this time work with assistants to best service you. I believe you need to find a stylist that works with 1 to 2 assistants, because you have a lot of hair, hard to lift, your lifestyle, you have children, you need your salon visits to be 2 to 3 hours, not 5 hours.
Wow. And
to better suit your lifestyle, I believe you need to find a stylist that works with assistants. So here's some referrals. Let's go our separate ways. Like I've given it a lot of thought, and I think this would be truly best for you. And so that was kind of my way of firing her in a really diplomatic way. But of course she hated it. She's like, how dare you? I wanted to spend my money there and like all this stuff. And I'm like, it's not about money. It's about what's right for you and what's right for us, And
at that point, it's a broken relationship anyways. What are you going to recover?
Oh, sure.
Well, it sounds like you handled it as positively as you can, as best as you can.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's real life, like I always like to speak in metaphors. You can't bring your car to the car wash and get auto body work done, or you can't go to the auto body shop and then have them detail your car. You have to really have a nice fit for the, what you're trying to get out of it as a client. And then the salon has to be able to provide that for you in a practical way. And her service was becoming very impractical for everyone. So I don't know. That was just like a one real life situation, but I know there's so many other instances where we could go on and tell horror stories about firing clients.
Well, we don't want to do that. We just kind of want to graze over it. I mean, I think it's something that, as hairdressers, we struggle with. But like you said, it happens, once or twice, in a 5-year period. So just if we could, I think we gave somebody, a way to do it or a good way to do it. I actually like the email way. It's kind of, I don't think it sounds too impersonal, but it's like it avoids the blow up, right? So,
well, it's business. It's like if you send somebody a text message, it's still very personal, and people are going to take it personal. If you send them an email, it's like very corporate. Right. And my advice is, if you're work for yourself, have a business email, have the policies on a website for your personal business. And if you are a commission stylist and your salon doesn't have this on their website, just put it in the suggestion box and say like, hey, hey owners, like I really heard this like great tip. I think this could be something really beneficial for the whole team. Like, please consider doing this. And like this, here's a website that you can draw inspiration from. And that's all you can do. Yeah. Right. I would go about it that way.
That's really good advice. I like the 3 topics that we wanted to hit today, which we really focused on, which was know your worth, right? Mm-hmm. How to increase your prices, Miss Katie. How to increase your prices, Miss Katie.
I'm working on it.
Scary. Ooh, that's scary.
And the last one is like, when your clients fail on you, how to let them go, in a diplomatic way, or as diplomatic as you can. So I have a couple more questions for you, Miss Lowe. And then right now, what are you obsessed with?
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's a great question, Corey. Yeah, I'm obsessed with TED Talks. I really am obsessed with TED Talks, and I'm looking for inspiration on that level. And like I think it helps me with my behind the chair business too, because you get all kinds of different clients in your chair, and sometimes you're like have something arise in your conversation, and I always like to kind of pull out my TED Talks. I'm like, oh, you would love this one TED Talk. Let me send you the link. And it's about technology or design or innovation or, psychology and different things. And I feel like when you try your best to be expanded as a person, you can relate to more people that way. And so I kind of geek out on that.
Do you ever position yourself as the expert? You go, oh, I heard this on TED Talk. I sound really smart right now, because I do that constantly.
Oh yeah, I like to make referrals for sure. I'm like constantly trying to like hairstylists are people pleasers, number one, and like you want to like have something in common with everyone you touch and meet. And I like to share recipes. I like to share TED Talks. I recently started to include a lot more like healthy diets into my daily life. And I love sharing that with people.
You've been posting about some of that too, right? Like some of your,
some
of your food stuff that looks delicious.
Yeah. Thank you. I made it a highlight on my page for a month or two. And then I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not a food page. I'm like, stay focused. Stay focused.
Stay focused.
And now I like have like a highlight on my Instagram outfit of the day. And I'm like, I'm going to take that one down too. I'm like, okay, I just need to focus and just think about what I'm doing here, just to get too passionate about so many things. So,
well, it's good that you bring it back, right?
I think that's called being a hairdresser.
I think that's all of us, right? There's so many, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we can't focus in one spot.
No, I don't think it's the way our brains work, right?
No, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's incredible. All right, Miss Lowe. Well, we're going to wind down a little bit, and just thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the show, and thank you very much for joining us on your day off.
The pleasure's mine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, and it was so great getting to know you guys. I look forward to doing this again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Please do me you.
So there it is. We also want to give a special thanks to Sarah and Blaine from Pretty Gritty. Sarah and Blaine allowed us to use their music that runs under the podcast. It's called Pleased to Meet You, which I thought was only appropriate for our podcast. You can find Pretty Gritty's music on iTunes.